Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 290 to 291 based on novel. So let's start. This voice seemed to come from the world itself and was ethereal. It seemed to come from her ears but also from far away. However, listening to it carefully, it came from her mind. It was a very simple word and very calm voice, but when it landed in Shuyun's mind, it caused her body to tremble. It was as if the world around her had collapsed and formed a law of unimaginably thin threads that wrapped around her. Shuyun's body, origin soul, and origin energy all stopped at this moment. Even her mind was frozen, still retaining her previous thoughts. Wang Lin's figure appeared before Shuyun. Shuyun, who was sitting there, was very alluring, with her beautiful body hidden by her clothes. There was a fragrance coming from her body. Her expression still retained her previous determination. Wang Lin took the black pill from Shuyun's hand and carefully looked at it. The color of this pill was like the source of darkness in the world. Just one look at it would suck your mind in. What a strange pill, Wang Lin muttered as his divine sense spread across pill, and he began to calculate. Wang Lin's knowledge in alchemy was far weaker than his skill in restrictions, but his cultivation level was as high as the heavens, so his divine sense was able to analyze the structure of the pill. However, a majority of them were not things he understood, and more importantly, he felt soul fluctuations inside the pill. Interesting. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at the pill once more. He was able to determine what he felt wasn't wrong, and there were indeed soul fluctuations inside. Although the soul wasn't very strong, it was tough. Closing his eyes, Wang Lin had a feeling he wasn't holding a pill, but the soul of a fierce beast. This was the soul of an ape, and it was extremely tyrannical. It frantically struggled in his hand, but there were too many seals on it for it to escape. After he opened his eyes, the illusion disappeared. Wang Lin placed the pill back in Shuyun's fingers before taking a few steps back and pointing forward. The invisible threads around Shuyun quickly disappeared and her body trembled before returning to normal. For her, it felt as if only an instant had passed. Wang Lin's cultivation level was far above hers, so she couldn't even detect the abnormality caused by the stop spell. She retained her previous action and swallowed the pill with a determined gaze. Wang Lin stood behind her and calmly observed. Shuyun didn't notice that there was a person behind her. After swallowing the pill, Shuyun's face turned red and revealed a hint of pain. Fragrant sweat appeared on her forehead and soon, her clothes were soaked in sweat and clinged to her body. From the back, Wang Lin could clearly see the beautiful curves of the woman before him. Shuyun's face became even more red. Her eyes were closed and she could clearly feel a fire burning in her body. This flame burned her origin soul, and a golden, black-eyed ape appeared in her origin soul. This golden, black-eyed ape was huge and fierce. It let out a roar and charged at her origin soul. Shuyun's mind was also filled with flames. Her origin soul was already injured from before, and the flames were very painful, but she didn't retreat. She began a battle with the golden, black-eyed ape. Her mind was like a battleground, and she began a life-and-death battle with the ape. The ape roared, seeming to want to tear her origin soul and flesh apart so it could escape and not have to withstand the burning flames. However, Shuyun's origin soul clinged onto the black ape. While the flames burned her, they were also refining the black ape. She wasn't willing to give up until she refined the black ape. However, the black ape was very powerful, and it was being refined slower than the rate Shuyun's origin soul was burning. This caused Shuyun's origin soul to retreat, and her face became even more red as she trembled. When taking the soul-parting death pill, one would walk the line of life and death. Shuyun knew this very well. If not for the fact that she was anxious to make a breakthrough in order to better help her teacher, she wouldn't have swallowed this pill so easily. Her teacher had helped her greatly, so she was willing to do whatever it took for her teacher. Her origin soul was pushed to the edge by the ape, which only had a small portion of its body refined. It pounced at Shuyun and was going to tear her origin soul to shreds. Just at this moment, Wang Lin raised his right hand. He wanted to carefully observe the effect of this pill. If Shuyun died, he wouldn't have a chance to observe. Forget it, I'll gift this little girl a fortune. Wang Lin shook his head as he pointed to between Xu Yun's eyebrows. Wang Lin's divine sense directly entered Xu Yun's mind. In Xu Yun's mind, her origin soul continued to retreat, and she was filled with despair. The ape closed in, and just as it pounced, a white figure entered. She couldn't clearly see the white figure, she only saw white hair fluttering. She didn't have time to be shocked at how this white-haired man had appeared inside her mind. Her origin soul trembled as she stared ahead in disbelief. She saw that after the white figure appeared, he casually pointed with his finger and the ape was forced back, screaming. Popping sounds came from the ape before its body collapsed and was refined like crazy by the surrounding flames. Xu Yun was startled. The grace of that finger shocked her greatly. She couldn't describe that finger. It felt like the finger was the only thing in her mind at that moment. It was so powerful that even the world would collapse before the finger. She had seen her teacher, Lu Yanfei, use spells, but she clearly understood that not even her teacher could produce something this powerful. She feared that even her teacher would be defeated and die under that finger. She had even seen the ancestor that had already died use spells before, and even for the ancestor, it would have been difficult to produce this kind of power. The white-haired man's casual movement shocked her mind greatly. The white-haired man seemed to look back at Xu Yun and then disappeared from her mind. The only thing that remained was the white hair that was clearly imprinted in her mind. The ape was refined by the flames in her mind and turned into a strange soul force. When the soul force rushed into Xu Yun's origin soul, she could no longer think about the white hair. As she absorbed the soul force, Xu Yun gradually entered a strange state similar to the Sha realm. Under this strange state, comprehension of Tao and the heavens came from the mysterious soul force into her origin soul. This ape was no ordinary beast, but a spirit beast unique to the Cloud Sea. These spirit beasts also cultivated Tao and comprehended the heavens just like humans. With its natural longevity, it had an advantage over cultivators in gaining enlightenment. This ape had already lived for more than 3,000 years. After taking its soul, alchemy techniques were fused to create this soul-parting death pill. After an unknown amount of time, Xu Yun slowly opened her eyes, and her eyes started shining. The aura of a corporeal young cultivator appeared around her body. Although she hadn't truly reached the corporeal young stage, the door had been opened. She only needed time to comprehend everything and then she would be a true corporeal young cultivator. Xu Yun suddenly looked behind her, but she didn't see anyone here. She was alone in the room, but she couldn't forget that white-haired figure and that graceful finger. After silently pondering for a bit, Xu Yun's expression became bleak. She stared ahead and the white-haired figure remained in her mind. She had a feeling not as a cultivator, but as a woman that she seemed to have seen this figure before. Was it an illusion? White hair. White hair, Xu Yun's eyes gradually lit up. She remembered what her teacher had told her about the ancestors' last words after using the Great Beneficent Spirit spell. The North. White hair, Xu Yun's bountiful chest went up and down and her breathing became rough. She immediately rushed out from her house and flew toward her teacher. Wang Lin stood by the window and saw the ray of light disappear into the night. There was enlightenment in her heart. I didn't think that such a pill would exist in the Cloud Seal. That means that the more powerful the spirit beast, the more useful it is in helping the soul gain enlightenment. This is very different from all heaven and the alliance. While pondering, Wang Lin suddenly remembered the beast soul Moji's master had refined and given to him as a gift when he was at the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect. At this moment, in the rank 5 region not far away from the continent of Mo Luo, there was a beast with the body like a black tadpole that was 1,000 feet wide. It was slowly flying through the star fog. This beast's giant head occupied most of its body, more than half. It opened its big mouth as if it was devouring the fog as it flew, revealing its sharp teeth. It was filled with bloodlust as its slender tail waved back and forth. There were 2 people standing on its head. One of them was a young man in a purple robe. He was very handsome, but there was also a hint of evil on his face that made him look very tyrannical. Behind the youth was an old man. He calmly stood there with a respectful expression, but when he looked at the youth, there was a hint of doting in his eyes. Not only do I want Lu Yanfei to become my concubine cultivation furnace, But I'm going to make the origin sect my inner palace. Uncle Song, how confident are you? If that old Daoist hadn't died, I would have no confidence, but now I'm 100% sure. There was a flash of coldness in the old man's eyes. The young man laughed and licked his lips. He seemed to had thought of something and revealed an evil expression. The rainy season lasted for several months, seeming like it would never stop. The intermittent raindrops pressed down upon the minds of the origin sect disciples, and they were powerless to dispel it. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had already been at the origin sect for 10 days. Xu Yun had already returned from her teacher, and during this time, she secretly investigated the 31 mortals brought back from the north. She had observed Wang Lin as well, but she didn't notice anything. Even her teacher, Lu Yanfei, took this matter seriously. She even used spells to try to find some clues, but there was still no result. The white-haired figure didn't dissipate with time, but became even more profound. She would awaken from her cultivation at night and the white-haired figure and that graceful finger would subconsciously appear in her mind. Who is he exactly? This question still plagued Xu Yun. On this afternoon, Xu Yun pushed over the door and a few drops of rains landed on her face. She frowned as she lifted her jade-like hand and wiped the rain off her face. Her appearance was refreshing with a hint of charm as she walked out. The raindrops seemed to land on an invisible cover when they came within half a feet of her and flowed down the sides. Walking through the courtyard, Xu Yun looked at the various herbs before looking at Wang Lin's house. The first one she suspected was Wang Lin. However, during these days, this youth named Seng Nyo was like a real mortal, aside from his composure and calmness. She wasn't able to think of a reason why, but she subconsciously walked toward Wang Lin's house and stood outside for a while. She raised her eyebrows and pushed open the door. I let you stay here to take care of the herbs. During these days, have you done it once? Xu Yun stared at Wang Lin, who was reading a wooden scroll next to the small table. For some reason, whenever she saw Wang Lin, she found it hard to control her emotions and didn't have the calmness an illusory yin cultivator should have. Wang Lin placed down the wooden scroll he had gotten from the origin sect. There wasn't any valuable information inside, and it was something all new disciples could borrow. It contained the history of the continent of Mo Luo and a simple introduction of the Cloud Sea. These wooden scrolls were to allow the new disciples to get a better understanding of the Cloud Sea. This allowed them to see that there was always someone above them, so they would put more effort into cultivation. While reading the wooden scroll, Wang Lin wasn't completely focused. He was also thinking about alchemy and spirit beasts. He calmly looked at Xu Yun. Wang Lin just sat there and calmly asked, "Did a single herb die?" Xu Yun was startled. The herbs were much more lush than before. Even some of the roots she had given up on had all strangely survived. Wang Lin no longer spoke. He picked up the scroll and continued reading. The more calm he was, the more Xu Yun frowned. The moment she walked in, a fragrance diffused within the small room. Wang Lin was familiar with this smell. When Xu Yun was cultivating before, Wang Lin had already smelled this body fragrance. Xu Yun stared at Wang Lin and coldly said, "The herbs not dying has nothing to do with you. It is because there is plenty of spiritual energy here and their herbs are mostly water element, so they can absorb origin energy from the rain." Oh. Wang Lin casually nodded and didn't even look at Xu Yun. He continued to read the wooden scroll in his hand. Seng Nyo. Seeing Wang Lin's attitude, Xu Yun glared with her beautiful eyes. Wang Lin frowned as he put down the wooden scroll again and coldly looked at Xu Yun. Xu Yun was filled with words and was about to scold him, but when she suddenly met Wang Lin's eyes, she subconsciously swallowed her words. She was startled. "My job is to keep the herbs from dying. If nothing has happened, please don't bother me," Wang Lin said calmly. Then he looked away from Xu Yun and picked up the scroll. Xu Yun's heart trembled for no reason under Wang Lin's gaze. Is it him? Xu Yun pondered for a moment and took a profound look at Wang Lin. She then bit her lower lip and left the room. Late in the night, the oil lamp on the table was lit. It was dark outside, with only the sound of the rain mixed with the sound of the thunder that followed the rain. The wind from the mountain blew into the basin, forming vortexes that howled in the night. Wang Lin put down the scroll before closing his eyes and pondering for a moment. He was able to see through many things from the scroll and had gained a vague understanding of the Cloud Sea. More importantly, during the last 4 days, he was able to gain enlightenment regarding alchemy from a jade he had acquired. He opened his eyes and raised his head. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the house, break through the rain, and look at the sky directly above the basin. There was a Daoist temple being propped up by 8 huge pillars there. Wang Lin could clearly sense a powerful aura within that Daoist temple. His body flickered and he disappeared from the room. When he reappeared, he was on top of one of the pillars and right outside the Daoist temple. The wind and rain were extremely strong here, and there were also flashes of thunder and lightning. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he pushed open the door of the Daoist temple and walked inside. This Daoist temple wasn't big. Aside from the decorations, the most conspicuous thing was the giant spatial crack at the center with purple light leaking out, coloring the entire temple purple. Behind the crack was a shelf. There were fluctuations of restrictions coming from the shelf, and there were 3 things placed on it. There was a long sword, a piece of jade, and a pill. The moment Wang Lin entered the Daoist temple, the purple light from the spatial crack became stronger. A huge python head came out from the crack and stared at Wang Lin. This python was blackish purple and its eyes were also a rich purple. Usually, anyone who was being stared by this pair of eyes would be shaken, but it had no effect on Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't even look at the python and walked past it. The python let out a low roar, but fear appeared in its eyes. It began to retreat, allowing Wang Lin to walk past it, and didn't dare to attack. In truth, Wang Lin had come here 4 days ago. In terms of cultivation, this purple python could battle late-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivators, but Wang Lin could easily kill it. He didn't even cause much of a fuss and almost killed the purple python. However, he was going to stay here for a period of time and couldn't seem to justify killing their sect's guardian beast the moment he arrived, so he left the purple python alive. Wang Lin arrived next to the shelf and with a wave of his sleeve all the restrictions dissipated. Wang Lin picked up the jade and began observing it. He had already seen it 4 days ago, but he wasn't interested in their spells or cultivation methods. However, he did pay attention to the information about spirit beasts and alchemy. After taking another look, Wang Lin pondered. He then put down the jade and picked up the pill. This pill looked very inconspicuous. When he looked at it 4 days ago, he wasn't able to find anything interesting. After pondering about the information on alchemy he saw in the jade 4 days ago, he came this time to check the pill. According to the jade, there was a total of 13 ranks of spirit beasts. The souls of these beasts could be refined into pills that were also divided into 13 ranks. This was a pill that was passed down for generations within the Origin sect. It was a rank 8 pill, but unfortunately, it was a rank 8 pill without a rank 8 beast soul, so it was a waste. There was a hint of pity in Wang Lin's eyes. After studying the jade for these days, he gradually grasped some key concepts of the Cloud Sea's alchemy. He had come here to the temple today to check if his speculation was correct. Seeing the pill in his hand, he was certain. After letting out a sigh, Wang Lin put down the pill. He didn't take any of these 3 things that were obviously inheritances left by the old ancestor. Unless he had a feud with them, given Wang Lin's cultivation level, he wasn't going to do something that would ruin a sect. It was enough for him to just look at it. Now I need to personally refine a pill using this method. My goal in the Cloud Sea is to do everything I can to improve my cultivation. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly raised his head, and his eyes revealed a strange light. There were flashes of lightning in the sky above the western part of the continent. There were muffled rumbles as if someone was bombarding it from the outside. This continent was floating in the Cloud Sea. There was a black tower on the continent that released a soft, white light that covered the entire continent. Aside from pushing the fog back, it also had a defensive role. It protected the continent against cultivators of other sects, but more importantly, it protected the continent against the myriad of fierce beasts. In the Cloud Sea, beasts were divided into 2 categories. The ones that were domesticated by cultivators were called spirit beasts. Those that drifted in the fog and would fight with cultivators to the death were called fierce beast. At this moment, The light over the western part of the continent continued to distort and then suddenly collapsed with a bang. The thunderous rumble suppressed all thunder and rain as it echoed across the entire continent. It clearly entered the origin sect. A spirit beast that was completely black and about 1,000 feet wide with the shape of a tadpole slowly entered the broken barrier. It went through all the lightning and squeezed itself into the continent of Mo Luo. If it was just this spirit beast, it wouldn't be enough to break the barrier above the continent. However, on the back of the beast was an arrogant-looking old man. He slowly withdrew his right hand, which was surrounded by purple wind. An arrogant laugh echoed. Aside from the old man, there was also a youth in purple. His laughter echoed across the world and was filled with excitement and arrogance. Henceforth, this origin sect will belong to this young lord. The thunderous rumble echoed as the giant black beast entered the continent of Mo Luo. The old man standing on the head of the giant beast looked dotingly at the youth and smiled. As the youth laughed, the black spirit beast below him charged at an unimaginable speed toward the origin sect on the east side of the continent. The Purple Dao's young master has arrived. Why hasn't the origin sect come out to greet him? An old and gloomy voice echoed, following the thunderous roar of the beast. The only sect on the continent, the origin sect, heard this loud and clear. The old man knew that the young master liked to act domineering in public. Normally, the old man wouldn't act like this, but right now, the fate of the origin sect was in his hands. Therefore, he accompanied the young master in being arrogant. The old man waved his hand and a gust of purple wind swept forward. All the rain that was falling was pushed back. It was as if the rain had to stop wherever the gust of wind passed. Even the lightning was torn apart by the gust of wind. The lightning scattered like a blooming flower. At this moment, all the disciples in the origin sect awakened from their cultivation. Their faces were all pale as they felt a powerful pressure from the west that felt like it could crush them at any time. At the top of the eastern mountain in the origin sect, the middle-aged man among the four elders had a bitter expression. He silently closed his eyes, but then he fiercely opened them. He turned into a ray of light and flew west. Teacher just left the world and the Purple Dao sect is already acting so arrogant. I keep enduring it, but why not just let me, Li Xiangdong, be arrogant for once? Even if I die, I'll die an indomitable spirit. There was a sigh from the north and west mountain peaks. The two old men flew out and looked at each other before flying to the west. Right now was the moment of fate for the origin sect, and they couldn't endure any more. However, even if they couldn't endure it, what could they do? Did they dare to kill the Purple Dao sect's young master? Also, the power contained within that old man's words was enough to shake their hearts. Song Wuda. He lost to teacher in the past. Now that teacher is dead, he came personally. Could it be that my origin sect is really fated to fall from grace for eternity? On top of the southern mountain, Lu Yanfei stood in the red pavilion in a red dress. Her face was filled with sadness and killing intent. She didn't hesitate to rush out in a ray of red light toward the west. Rudy, even if I, Lu Yanfei, die, I'll not yield to you. Lu Yanfei bit her lower lip as she flew. Tears fell from the sides of her cheek and mixed with the rain. It was impossible to distinguish her tears from the rain. Behind the four great elders of the origin sect were their direct disciples. They flew toward the west filled with panic, determination, or anger. Xu Yun was among them. Her face showed that she had the determination to die. However, for some unknown reason, while she flew, two figures appeared in her mind. One figure had black hair and was very thin but always as calm as water. The other figure had white hair, and with the wave of his finger, the world would collapse. These two figures filled her mind until they eventually overlapped. Wang Lin stood inside the Daoist temple and looked at the rays of light disappearing before him. He shook his head and unhurriedly thought about where he would go after the origin sect was destroyed. In the end, he frowned and muttered, "It's really troublesome." He waved his sleeves and stepped forward. Ripples appeared under his feet and he disappeared from the Daoist temple. The purple python that had been laying low since Wang Lin had appeared and was still filled with fear charged out. It let out roar toward where Wang Lin went. It was as if it knew that Wang Lin had left and wouldn't come back for a long time, so it dared to let out a roar. The night of the continent of Mo Luo was about to end and the sun was beginning to rise. At this moment, the purple wind flew across the sky and the black spirit beast followed. The old man looked very arrogant and calm. He was confident he could easily deal with the origin sect. The youth in purple beside him revealed an excited look and began shouting obscenely. Uncle Song, heavily injure Lu Yanfei, but don't kill her. Let me play with her for a few days and suck her origin energy dry, then it won't be too late to kill her. The youth in purple licked his lips. The old man beside him nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he was suddenly startled and stared straight ahead. He saw ripples appeared in the void before him and powerful origin energy fluctuations began to spread. A man with white hair walked out from the ripples. The white-haired man had a cold expression, and the moment he appeared, a monstrous killing intent filled the world. The black spirit beast immediately stopped and the old man's expression changed. The youth in purple frowned and was about to shout when the old man stood before him. The old man stared at Wang Lin with a serious expression and said, "I'm the Purple Dao Sect's Song Wudo. Can fellow cultivator give me some face and let me pass?" Hearing the old man's words, the youth in purple was startled and carefully examined Wang Lin. "I'll give you some face, so immediately get the hell out of here and never come back." Wang Lin's cold voice stabbed at the old man like the cold wind. The old man's expression immediately became gloomy. Although he was weaker than the origin sect's ancestor, he was still a mid-stage nirvana cleanser cultivator. He couldn't really see through the other party's cultivation, so he was polite, but he didn't think the other party would be so arrogant. What an arrogant tone. Even when the ancestor of the origin sect faced our Purple Dao sect, he had to. Before the old man could finish speaking, the youth in purple behind him laughed. Wang Lin no longer spoke and coldness flashed through his eyes. As he stepped forward, he raised his right hand and strands of slaughter energy rushed out of his body. At this moment, a monstrous killing intent appeared. The dense slaughter energy caused a large amount of cold energy to appear. The surrounding raindrops all turned into ice crystals. The 1,000-foot spirit beast immediately began to tremble. It was very smart and immediately noticed the danger of this slaughter energy. Feeling the danger, it immediately began to retreat without the youth in purple's order. The purple youth's face turned pale, but he still shouted, "You." However, this time, before he could finish speaking, the old man immediately slapped the youth and sent him flying to the black spirit beast. He then waved his sleeves and rapidly retreated with the black spirit beast. "Leave quickly. I'll meet up with you after I kill this person." The old man's expression became serious. After sending the spirit beast away, he rushed toward Wang Lin. The youth in purple rarely saw the old man this serious, so panic appeared in his heart. He quickly retreated with the black spirit beast. Wang Lin waved his right hand and all the slaughter energy around him became crazy. Each strand released a roaring howl as they charged at the old man. The old man's pupils immediately shrank. His hands formed seals and purple wind appeared and collided with the slaughter energy. The thunderous rumble echoed far and wide. "Summon the rain." Wang Lin lifted his left hand and pointed at the sky. At this moment, all the rain within 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet trembled. As Wang Lin pointed, every raindrop trembled and origin energy surrounded them, then the raindrops shot at the old man. The old man's heart was in so much shock that it was impossible to describe with words. He had never seen the two spells the youth in white had used, but the power of these spells made him gasp. He was about to dodge when Wang Lin's cold gaze locked onto him, and Wang Lin calmly said one word. "Stop." The old man's body trembled and he stopped in the air. At this instant, the surrounding countless ice crystals gathered around the old man. A moment later, a giant ice crystal appeared in the air. Wang Lin didn't stop. His right hand reached out and the crack to his storage space appeared. A rusty, iron sword immediately appeared in Wang Lin's hand. He walked forward with the sword, raised it, and mercilessly slashed down. The world was still bright right now, but the moment the sword fell, the entire world was enveloped in an extremely bright flash. There was a heaven-shaking rumble and the ice crystal shattered into pieces of bloody fragments. The old man's eyes were still filled with shock and disbelief as his body fragmented. Even his origin soul shattered under the impact and exploded in a shockwave of origin energy. All of this happened in a few breaths of time. Instant kill. Even until death, the old man still couldn't believe that he was killed in such a short period of time. However, his death wasn't unreasonable. Whether it was the slaughter energy or summon the rain, these spells were powerful enough to shock anyone in the cultivation world. In addition, the attack from the pseudo-Nirvana void treasure was enough to make a peak Nirvana cleanser cultivator lose a layer of skin if they didn't die instantly. Without even mentioning Wang Lin's combat experience, Song Wudu hadn't died to a nobody. After instantly killing Song Wudo, Wang Lin turned to look at the black spirit beast that hadn't gone too far yet. The purple youth that witnessed all of this screamed in fear. Wang Lin coldly looked at the youth in purple and stepped forward. Rays of light arrived behind Wang Lin. The scream filled with extreme fear clearly entered the ears of the Origin sect's 4 elders and echoed inside Lu Yanfei's mind. At this instant, the sky cleared and the rain dissipated. A vague rainbow appeared across the sky. The figure chased after the black spirit beast. His white hair was so dazzling that the figure was deeply imprinted in Lu Yanfei's eyes. The white hair flowing under the rainbow was an image that would forever be burned into the eyes of the 4 great elders of the Origin sect. The smell of blood in the air and the fluctuations from the collapsed Origin soul indicated that a shocking battle had occurred here. That amazing flash, even though it only lasted for a moment, had taken the life of the Nirvana cleanser cultivator that they were planning to fight to the death against. This scene caused the 4 of them to become transfixed. In their eyes, the white-haired man was only a figure. Although he seemed slow, in reality, he was like lightning as he charged at the youth in purple on the black spirit beast. The scream of the youth in purple revealed the fear in his heart. Although Rudy was at the illusory yin stage, due to his high status, he had never encountered such danger. Originally, he thought it would be an easy, fun trip. He thought that with the protection of Song Wuda and his status as the junior master of the Purple Dao sect, he could do as he pleased in the rank 5 region. He could never have dreamt that this would happen. Even now, he still couldn't believe that Song Wuda had been killed by this white-haired youth like this. Not even Song Wuda's origin soul had managed to escape. The white-haired youth had become the most terrifying beast in the world to him. The figure that closed in made the youth in purple scream even louder. "I'm the junior master of the Purple Dao sect. If you kill me, my father, Lu Yunzong, will slaughter the entire continent of Mo Luo." He was afraid. He had never been this afraid before. The shadow of the white-haired youth got closer and replaced everything in his vision. The black spirit beast trembled under him and continued to retreat. This spirit beast had already awakened its intelligence, and its fear of Wang Lin was no weaker than the fear it felt toward its master. The youth in purple seemed to have gone crazy from fear, and he shouted at the top of his lungs, "If you dare to hurt me in the slightest, my Purple Dao sect will hunt you down for the rest of your life." His right hand touched his bag of holding and he took out a black lotus. The lotus was completely black and bloomed in a demonic way. It gave off a strange light that enveloped the youth's twisted face. Just as he was about to use the treasure his father had given him, a finger appeared before him. This finger looked gentle, but it instantly landed between his eyebrows. With a bang, the youth in purple coughed out blood and his vision blurred. 2 streams of blood flow out from his eyes. His body flew back like a kite with a broken string and popping sounds echoed from his body. Large amounts of blood mist spray out from his body and dyed the sky red. It was a shocking scene. His origin soul collapsed. At this moment, he felt his heart pounding, and it was like his body was floating in the air. His heartbeat became weaker and weaker, as if he and his heart were in 2 different worlds. The sound gradually faded until he could no longer hear it. At this moment, the direct disciples of the 4 great elders arrived, and what they saw was a bloody person blown off the black spirit beast. The person exploded into a pile of flesh and blood before falling from the sky. Inside the blood mist under the rainbow, the white-haired figure was engraved into their hearts. Shu Yun stared at the figure before her and trembled slightly. She bit her lower lip and her eyes revealed a strange light. Rudy died. His body collapsed and his origin soul disappeared like his uncle's. There was a blooming black lotus and a bag of holding in Wang Lin's hand. If the person who Rudy threatened wasn't Wang Lin and instead was a native of the rank 5 region, then it might have had some effect. This would be especially true for those from sects weaker than the Purple Dao sect. Even on impulse, they would hesitate and would only capture Rudy in the end. They wouldn't dare to kill him. After all, within the rank 5 region, the Purple Dao sect was powerful enough to be ranked in the top 10. Most important was the name Lu Yunzong. He was extremely talented, and within the rank 5 region, he was extremely famous. However, all of these threats were useless before Wang Lin. A mere Lu Yunzong and a mere Purple Dao sect weren't qualified in Wang Lin's eyes to be a threat to his existence. Whether it was the Thunder Celestial of all heaven, the Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor, Celestial Emperor by Fang's cross-generation disciple, Celestial Lord Qing Shui's junior apprentice brother, or the disciple of the now awakened Celestial Emperor Qing Lin, any one of these titles had far more weight than anything the Purple Dao sect could compare to. Wang Lin's 1,000 years plus of cultivation experience were not something a genius like Lu Yunzong could compare to. The threat from the Purple Dao sect was a joke. It couldn't even compare to a strand of hair on Tuor Sen's body. With a wave of his right hand, the giant black spirit beast that was trembling and had just lost its master was put away by Wang Lin. It didn't dare to resist at all. The sky was already bright and a new day had arrived with the arrival of the sun. The rainbow was no longer a blur and became clear and bright. As it crossed the sky, it gave off a gentle light. It enveloped the world, the continent, and also the vision of all the disciples of the Origin sect. Wang Lin's white hair flowed, and with one step, he disappeared. From beginning to end, not a single cultivator from the Origin sect saw Wang Lin's face. They only saw that indomitable figure and the long, snow-white hair. The surroundings were completely silent, and everyone's breathing became even heavier. The elders, aside from Lu Yanfei, all looked at each other in shock. In a short period of time, their despair and sadness were replaced with shock. It all happened too fast, and even now they felt like they were dreaming. He. Who is he? Why did that senior help the Origin sect? To instantly kill Song Wuda, he. What is his cultivation level? He has white hair. Lu Yanfei softly said, then she let out a faint smile. This smile hadn't appeared since her teacher was seriously injured. Her smiling face was like a blooming flower. There was an unspeakable grace and beauty in her happiness. Her 3 senior apprentice brothers had thoughtful gazes as they looked at where Wang Lin disappeared. They silently pondered, but the shock in their minds made it so they were unable to calm down. After a short period of silence, the direct disciples of the elders erupted into cheers. They turned toward the rainbow and returned to the Origin sect with the 4 elders. The Purple Dao sect will not sit idly when they hear about Song Wuda and Rudy's deaths. As the 4 elders moved, one of the old men suppressed the shock in his heart and sent out his thoughts to the remaining 3. Before teacher died, he said north and white hair. That senior has white hair and is perhaps the person teacher was talking about. Perhaps our Origin sect isn't at its end yet. However, who is this senior? Is he part of our Origin sect? I have observed the 31 mortals, but I've found nothing. If he was willing to help us once, then he will help us a second time. Lu Yanfei's divine sense was determined, which caused the other 3 to silently ponder. It is useless to search since this senior doesn't want us to find out, then let things happen naturally. Lu Yanfei's eyes were bright and she smiled once more. Her right hand touched her bag of holding and sent inside a force to destroy an old painting. It didn't take long for the people of the Origin sect to return to the sect. They all scattered, filled with excitement. Lu Yanfei didn't return to her pavilion in the southern mountain but went to the herb courtyard with Xu Yun. The 2 women were both very charming. When they stood together, it was a really breathtaking sight. There were some disciples that saw them from a distance, and they entered a moment of trance. However, thinking about Lu Yanfei's status, they quickly awakened and went to greet them, but they were waved away by Xu Yun. It was clear that they didn't wish to be disturbed. Teacher, he lives right here. Xu Yun's heart pounded wildly as she spoke to her teacher. Within the star fog of the rank 5 domain, there was a purple continent that was 3 times the size of the continent of Mo Luo. From afar, it was like a coiled-up fierce beast that was coldly staring at the sky. The distinct difference from the continent of Mo Luo was that there were 4 large, black towers that emitted gentle light that surrounded every corner of the continent. At this moment, the star fog suddenly began to churn, followed by a scream. A 1,000 feet tall tiger-like beast rushed out from the fog and stared at the purple continent with hatred in its eyes. It could vaguely hear the miserable cries of a female tiger coming from the continent. As it roared, it moved like lightning toward the continent. It was so fast that it closed in on the continent in the blink of an eye. It collided with the light barrier around the purple continent, causing the barrier to flicker violently. The tiger-shaped beast let out another roar and charged once more. However, at this moment, a ray of purple light charged out at an unimaginable speed. Inside it was a middle-aged man wearing a purplish gold robe. He looked very dignified and his gaze was profound. There was a hint of gloominess on his face. He was so fast that after images appeared, he instantly broke through the barrier and appeared among the stars. With a wave of his hand, purple light appeared and wrapped around the tiger. Refine. His cold voice echoed as the purple light around the fierce beast turned into a giant furnace. Mournful roars came, but they gradually disappeared. Congratulations, Sect Master, in luring another star tiger beast. It won't take long for Sect Master to refine his tiger bone sword. A laugh appeared, then an old man wearing the same purple robe appeared beside his man. Part 291. I'm still missing 9. However, all the star tigers within the area are gone, so I need to go out further. The middle-aged revealed a grim smile, but before he could continue, his expression suddenly changed. He raised his right hand and reached at the void, creating a crack to his storage space. A jade flew out and immediately cracked, revealing a soul fragment. The soul fragment was in the shape of Rudy. His eyes were filled with the fear before his death and dissipated before the middle-aged man. Junior Master. The smile disappeared from the old man in purple and shock filled his eyes. The middle-aged man watched the soul fragment disappear. He didn't move at all and slowly closed his eyes. The old man beside him was shocked. He looked at the sect master and his heart trembled. He had followed this sect master for many years. He knew that the more calm the sect master was, the bigger the storm to come. Where did Rudy go? After a long time, the middle-aged man opened his eyes. There was a trace of sadness burning in his eyes, but his voice was terrifyingly calm. The old man bowed down and said respectfully, Junior Master. Junior Master went to the continent of Mo Luo. He was still in shock and hadn't calmed down yet. He couldn't understand who in the rank 5 region would dare to kill Junior Master Rudy and risk offending the Purple Dao sect's Master Lu Yunsong. Continent of Mo Luo, Origin Sect. Why did no one tell me about this? The middle-aged man's voice was calm, but when it landed in the old man's ears, the old man trembled. He suddenly remembered something and his face turned pale. Junior Master, as a cultivator, he still lusted for beauties and was arrogant. He used his status as the junior master of the Purple Dao sect and ruined quite a few female disciples of various sects. He even did vicious things, such as sucking their origin yin energy. Without waiting for the old man to finish, the middle-aged man shook his head and seemed to mutter to himself. Sect Master. The old man's face was pale. Who went with him to continent of Mo Luo? It should have been Song Wuda. That child grew up under Song Wuda's care. Perhaps to him, Song Wuda was like a second father. He went to the continent of Mo Luo because he is after Lu Yanfei of the Origin sect. He was taking advantage of the fact that that old bag of bones died and wanted to make the Origin sect his inner palace. The old man silently pondered. As far as he knew, everything the sect master said was true. The middle-aged man raised his head and looked at the star fog before him. After silently looking for a bit, he turned and walked toward the purple continent. That useless child, he is dead, so now there is one less scourge in the world. However, I'm still his father. Since he liked that Lu Yanfei girl, then let that little girl die with him. As for the man that killed him, he can be buried with him as well, the middle-aged man said without any emotion in his voice. He wasn't like this before. This figure was more bleak. The old man's expression became even more pale. After hesitating for a while, he clenched his teeth and said, "Sect Master." Before the junior master left, this old man heard Song Wuda say that the junior master was going to the Purple Cloud Sea to take the Heaven Yin flag that the Purple Dao sect left there. After taking Lu Yenfei's origin soul, he was going to use all the female origin souls he collected to feed a Yin celestial. The middle-aged man's figure suddenly stopped and the calmness in his eyes collapsed. A monstrous wrath revealed itself, but a sense of fear and panic also filled his body. Ungrateful child. Continent of Mo Luo, origin sect. Lu Yenfei looked silently at the ordinary house. After hesitating a bit, she walked into the courtyard. Xu Yun followed, and she was very tense. She could clearly hear her heart beating rapidly. Wang Lin's door was closed. Lu Yenfei and Xu Yun stood outside the door and became silent. After a long time, Lu Yenfei bit her lower lip and softly said, "Is Senior here?" "Not here." A calm voice came out from the house and entered their ears. They were startled by it as they didn't think they would get a response like this. In truth, a very long time ago in the Alliance star system, a woman also asked this question and also got this answer. After all, whether it was the original body or the avatar, both were Wang Lin. Lu Yenfei let out a smile that was very beautiful. She bowed toward the house and softly said, "Teacher once had an uncle master named Lu Zihao. According to teacher, Grand Uncle Master Lu Zihao was obsessed with Dao. Aside from when he went missing, he had never left the continent of Mo Luo. He never even went to the main sect or had many friends. Not many people in the origin sect even remember him due to time. Even my 3 senior apprentice brothers have never seen him. Junior only saw a portrait of him, and it was teacher who showed it to me. He gave me the portrait. Because this Grand Uncle Master Lu is an ancestor of my Lu family. This portrait was far too old and was tattered. On the way back just now, it was destroyed." After saying all of this, Lu Yenfei respectfully left with a smile. Xu Yun was confused by her teacher's words. She had no idea why her teacher had said those things. Wang Lin sat on the bed and stared at the black lotus in his right hand. He raised his head and his eyes shined brightly. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the house and landed on the departing Lu Yenfei. Lu Yenfei's body trembled, but she didn't stop. She maintained her calmness and walked out of the courtyard. What a clever woman. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. Aside from when she talked to him on the mountain, they'd had no other contact. Yet this woman was unexpectedly able to come up with such an amazing analysis just from the report from her disciple, their conversion on the mountain, and him killing Song Wuda and Rudy. Xu Yun wasn't able to understand her words, but with Wang Lin's cunning, he clearly understood. Lu Yenfei was certain he was the white-haired person, and in her mind, for someone of his cultivation level to hide in the origin sect meant that he was either after something in the origin sect or was hiding from enemies. However, Lu Yenfei couldn't think of anything he would want, so she became more certain about hiding from enemies. Therefore, if Wang Lin wanted to continue to stay in the origin sect, he needed an identity to not cause any suspicion. What Lu Yenfei just said was giving Wang Lin such an identity. As for Wang Lin's enemies, she obviously had to choose to ignore them. Wang Lin had met countless people in his life, but not many women this intelligent. Different from Liu Mai's ever-changing mood, different from Red Butterfly's arrogance, different from Li Muwen's gentleness. This was wisdom, an unmatched wisdom. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin revealed a smile and muttered, "Lu Zihao. This identity will allow me to take root in the Cloud Sea star system." The reason Wang Lin paid so much attention to his identity was due to his experience in All Heaven. Wang Lin didn't notice it then, and in the end his identity was transparent to all the powerful cultivators. This caused him a lot of inconvenience. After all, they would all have the thought of rejecting those that didn't belong to their system. In particular, with his cultivation level, it was difficult to deal with the issue of his identity. Although this didn't solve the issue perfectly, it did give him a path to resolving it. No longer thinking about this, Wang Lin placed his right hand on the black lotus, then his divine sense spread out and he began studying it. If this black lotus was only a treasure, he wouldn't pay so much attention to it. However, as he checked it with his divine sense, he was surprised to find that this lotus was a real plant. A few simple law formations were added as a seal. This cloud sea star system is strange to have a naturally formed treasure like this. If the seal on the lotus is broken, then it can form a powerful protection. It is indeed interesting. Wang Lin put the lotus down after examining it and picked up the bag of holding from the youth in purple. The youth in purple had a lot of miscellaneous things inside the bag. Aside from the scattered weapons and pills, there were 3 things that caught Wang Lin's attention. A completely purple bottle, a small golden flag, and an incense stick the side of a baby's arm. As for celestial jades, there were very few, less than 100 pieces. Unfortunately, after reaching the Nirvana cleanser stage, one no longer uses a bag of holding. A self-opened storage space is impossible for outsider to find even after death. Otherwise, that Nirvana cleanser cultivator might have had some good treasures and pills for me. Wang Lin shook his head as he picked up the golden flag. After scanning it with his divine sense, his expression became gloomy. This small flag was filled with yin energy. As Wang Lin's divine sense spread through it, he immediately found the yin souls of over 100 women. These women were all beautiful, and some of them were incomparable. However, these women all looked miserable, as they were sealed inside and couldn't escape. There was the soul of a snake inside that seemed to be devouring these women. The moment Wang Lin's divine sense swept by, it seemed to have been startled awake from its sleep and released a terrifying aura. Even Wang Lin's eyes narrowed when he felt this aura. Wang Lin's mind was shaken and his divine sense retreated from the attack of the beast soul. He stared at the golden flag and his pupils shrank. Aura of extreme yin. Wang Lin suddenly stood up, and his calmness was disturbed. A monstrous surge of emotion hit him and he took a few deep breaths. Unfortunately, it is not complete, there is only a trace of extreme yin. However, the method of breeding it is completely wrong. It can't be compared to the extreme yang the All-Seer created by using Bai Wei. This extreme yin is too poor in quality in comparison. However, it is still a sliver of extreme yin. Wang Lin touched the spot between his eyebrows. After the heaven-defying bead was complete with the 5 elements, it needed yin and yang. He had obtained the extreme yang form by Wei and was only lacking the extreme yin to complete the heaven-defying bead the second time. Holding the small golden flag, Wang Lin's eyes closed slowly. His eyes shined as he pondered. To use women's souls to nourish extreme yin is completely wrong. Back then, the All-Seer used Bai Wei's extreme yin body and extracted the extreme yang during its peak. That's the correct method. In order to obtain a complete extreme yin, one must obtain it at the peak of extreme yang. After looking at the golden flag, Wang Lin shook his head. At a glance, he could see that all those numerous female yin souls were added in later on, and it hadn't been a long time. This really is nonsense. Wang Lin waved his right hand and a storm set off inside the golden flag. His divine sense smashed into the formations that were trapping those women's souls and broke them. The moment the formations shattered, the miserable souls flew out, and their eyes were filled with confusion. However, they were all talented people within their sects before they were killed and sealed inside the flag by Rudy, so they quickly regained their sanity and then silently bowed toward Wang Lin. They showed hints of bitterness, liberation, and gratitude as they dissipated. What awaited them perhaps was reincarnation into another life or perhaps nothing. Staring at these souls dissipate, Wang Lin became silent. It didn't take long for all the souls to disappear, leaving only the extreme yin soul. This extreme yin let out a roar and charged out the moment those women's souls disappeared, as if it wanted to escape as well. Just as it peeked out, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his left hand formed a restriction. It landed on the golden flag. Then there was a flash of blue light. The extreme yin soul seemed to smash into an iron plate and was pushed back as it roared. Wang Lin completely ignored it as his left hand formed more restrictions that landed on the golden flag. He completely sealed it before putting it away. Not only is the method to raise this extreme yin not correct, it's also not complete. Since this belonged to Rudy, then there must be more clues at the Purple Dao sect. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin picked up the purple bottle. This jade bottle was warm and there was heat cycling inside. There was a cycle of origin energy inside that formed an eternal rotation. Wang Lin's divine sense surrounded the bottle. Under the effect of his divine sense, the bottle slowly became transparent, and he clearly saw 3 pills that were slowly rotating with the origin energy inside. The 3 pills were roughly the same size and all gave off a purple glow. There was a fierce aura coming from within them. After withdrawing his divine sense, Wang Lin's gaze landed on the 3rd item, which was an incense stick the size of a baby's arm. He wasn't unfamiliar with this item. Back in the Alliance, he saw this in the memories of the mosquito beast. The cultivators of the Cloud Sea had used this incense to confuse the mosquito beasts and lure them away from the 4 divine sect. Time slowly passed and the rainy season passed, ushering the sun to the continent of Mo Luo. Wang Lin seemed to have grown accustomed to the life in the origin sect and spent all his time learning alchemy. Xu Yun was very respectful toward this person named Seng Niu that was living next to her. Although Wang Lin hadn't admitted it yet, Xu Yun's female intuition told her that Seng Niu was the white-haired man. Whenever she thought of Wang Lin's figure and graceful movement, she would tense up. At this moment, she stared at Wang Lin with confusion. This is Ning Shui grass. It is an item to help create pills. Most pills in my origin sect require this. When a cultivator in the Cloud Sea reached a certain cultivation level, they would gain a certain degree of understanding of alchemy. This had a lot to do with the alchemy methods of the Cloud Sea. What puzzled her was that Seng Niu didn't know any of what was considered common sense. For Wang Lin to refine pills, he would first have to memorize the names and effects of all the herbs. Some of the herbs that he knew from the Alliance had different names here, so Xu Yun had become a target for Wang Lin's questions. This is Ink Cloud Herb, a key component of the Cloud Deficiency Pill. Wang Lin's expression was cold and calm. He had used a very short period of time to memorize all the herbs in this garden. Wang Lin looked around the garden and asked, "Is there any mist flower?" The jade he saw in the Daoist temple said that in order to refine a rank 6 or higher pill, on top of the beast soul, there were 3 even more important herbs. One of those herbs was the mist flower. The mist flower can only grow in continents that are shrouded in the star fog. Rumor has it that the more dense the fog, the more mist flowers there are. In the origin sect, I only know of 3 dried mist flowers, and they are all with Uncle Master Li. After Xu Yun finished explaining, she added one more thing. Uncle Master Li's alchemy skill is considered unmatched in the origin sect. Wang Lin nodded and no longer paid any attention to Xu Yun. Instead, he gathered some herbs based on the method of alchemy he had read and returned to the house. Seeing Wang Lin take the herbs, Xu Yun felt her heart ache, but she didn't dare to show it on her face. As Wang Lin walked back to his room, Xu Yun quickly said, This requires you to go the alchemy room in the eastern courtyard. Not only is there a pill furnace there, but there are also earth fire and protection formations. That way even, if the furnace explodes there will be no danger. No need. Wang Lin didn't turn around as he walked into the room. It wasn't until Wang Lin left that Xu Yun stomped her foot and became filled with dissatisfaction. Most of the herbs in the garden were things she had spent a lot of effort gathering. Some had been given to her by her master after her master found them while exploring dangerous wild continents. It can be said that most of the herb in the garden were Xu Yun and her master's private properties. The disciples of the sect were all aware of this and wouldn't dare to come here for herbs. Xu Yun valued these herbs greatly. However, she was helpless as she watched Wang Lin take them away. He didn't even listen her and was going to refine without going to the alchemy room. Especially considering how he didn't even know the names of some of these herbs, it was obvious this was the first time he was refining. Once the pill exploded, not only would the house be destroyed, but even the garden would be affected. Xu Yun stomped her feet but didn't dare to go up to stop him. Not going to the alchemy room means he must have his own pill furnace. He only knows how to use his high cultivation to bully a junior like me. Bully. The more Xu Yun thought, the more angry she became. She simply sat down outside and began to wait. When the pill exploded, she would need to do her best to protect the herbs. A large amount of the goodwill she previously had toward Wang Lin had also dissipated. Arrogant. When Xu Yun thought of Wang Lin's expression, she became even more angry. Although alchemy has some relation with cultivation, it doesn't have much effect. What it requires is experience and countless attempts. No matter how high the cultivation level, the success rate of refining for the first time won't be high. Xu Yun frowned as she focused herself and helplessly stood guard. Wang Lin didn't pay attention to Xu Yun's dissatisfaction. After returning to the room, he sat down and waved his hand. All the herbs he had picked floated in the air. His left eye lit up and flames immediately began burning in his left eye. Alchemy doesn't necessarily need a pill furnace. A pill furnace was used to not let any of the medication escape and to better condense heat for the pill to take shape. None of this was a problem for Wang Lin. The fire of the world moved as he willed. At this moment, white flames appeared and circled around Wang Lin. The fire began to condense until it was a ball of fire. Wang Lin's gaze was calm as his right hand reached out. All the herbs in the air began to separate into different portions. One part went to the side and one part went into the fireball. This was Wang Lin's first time refining a pill in the Cloud Sea. Although it was only a rank 3 pill, Wang Lin was still very serious. He stared at the fireball and his gaze penetrated inside. Those herbs rapidly melted inside the fireball and became crumbs. However, with Wang Lin's control of fire, they didn't even turn to ash but began fusing. They absorbed each other's unique medical attribute and began to fuse. Shortly after, Wang Lin's right hand reached out and a storage space appeared. A ray of black light flew out into Wang Lin's hand. There was a tadpole-like spirit beast soul inside the black light. This was Rudy's beast. This beast was very arrogant when it followed Rudy. It would often cruelly devour mortals and injured cultivators. It enjoyed the dry sweetness of blood and flesh in its mouth. However, at this moment, the beast soul was trembling in fear and constantly roaring. It wanted to break out from Wang Lin's palm, but no matter how much it struggled, it was a pointless endeavor. As Wang Lin waved his right hand, the beast soul let out a miserable scream and fused with the pill. Soon, a medical fragrance began to spread out inside the room. Just at this moment, Wang Lin frowned as his right hand reached into the fireball and grabbed the pill. A large portion on the beast soul was immediately pulled out. The moment Wang Lin's right hand left the fireball, the half-complete pill trembled and collapsed. Then a destructive force began to spread out. However, it was stopped by the fireball that wrapped around it. It let out some muffled sounds but didn't break the fireball. Pill explosion. Outside the house, Xu Yun heard the muffled screams and immediately stood up. She was very tense. However, after waiting for a while, she still didn't encounter the explosion. All she saw was a gloomy Wang Lin walking out and taking even more herbs. Xu Yun finally reacted and immediately began stomping her foot. She wanted to get some justice from Wang Lin, but thinking about his gloomy expression just now, she became afraid. She could only complain in her heart. What a bully. That pill will definitely explode this time as well. Xu Yun's words came true. In a short span of 3 days, Wang Lin had refined 16 times and failed every time beside the last one. Every time he failed, he would silently search for the reason before picking more herbs. Looking at the garden that was still vibrant 3 days ago and was almost barren now, Xu Yun's eyes couldn't help but turn red. This garden had taken her a lot of effort, and even when she refined pills herself, she was very careful and never used too many herbs. However, in just 3 days, almost all the herbs were gone. Although the pill explosion she dreaded never occurred, she'd rather have an explosion destroy most of the garden. It was better than being tortured like this. Looking at the house she hated very much, none of the goodwill she had toward Wang Lin remained. Xu Yun could not bear it anymore and rushed into the house. She saw Wang Lin sitting there, holding a complete pill. What made Xu Yun feel very hateful was that Seng Nyo was smiling while looking at the pill. Seeing that smile made Xu Yun's anger rise. Seng Nyo. Xu Yun was gnashing her teeth and took a deep breath. Thinking about her own speculation of his cultivation level, she suppressed her anger and kept telling herself not to be angry. After placing her hair behind her ear, Xu Yun softly said, "Seng Nyo, congratulations on refining a pill. Can I see it?" After experiencing 15 failures, almost all the herbs in the garden had been used to refine this pill. The beast soul had merged with the pill more than 10 times, and the pain of going back and forth was worse than death. The beast soul wanted Wang Lin to succeed so its suffering would end. Wang Lin looked at the pill in his hand and felt regret. There were a lot of details one had to pay attention to when fusing a beast soul with a pill. These things were not explained in the jade and he had to experience it himself. At this moment, when Wang Lin heard Xu Yun's words, he subconsciously touched his nose. He looked past Xu Yun's beautiful body at the almost barren garden, and even with his 1,000 years of cultivation, he felt a bit embarrassed. With a wave of his right hand, Wang Lin threw the pill at Xu Yun. Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by a scream. Xu Yun's eyes widened as she stared at the pill and could no longer contain the anger in her heart. At this moment, every notion of the white figure, the graceful finger, the powerful senior were all thrown out of her head. For the past 3 days, she watched helplessly as the herbs she had spent so much time to raise, the herbs she wasn't even willing to use herself, were pulled out one by one. In the end, he had only refined a rank 3 pill. A rank 3 pill was very precious, and it was something a corporeal young cultivator would need. However, all the herbs inside her garden should have been enough to refine a rank 4 pill. If it was Uncle Master Li, then there was a sliver of a chance of refining a rank 5 pill. Seng Nyo, return my herbs. Xu Yun's eyes were red and she was about to get justice from Wang Lin. However, when she raised her head, she found that the room was empty, Seng Nyo was gone. Wang Lin's figure appeared in the sky above the continent of Mo Luo and he touched his nose once more. He revealed a bitter smile and Xu Yun's voice still echoed in his ears. Forget it. It's only a courtyard of herbs. Wang Lin shook his head and flew into the sky as a ray of light. He disappeared over the horizon. After breaking through the light barrier around the continent, the cloud sea appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. In the jade inside the Daoist temple, aside from alchemy and beast soul-related information, there was also a star map of the rank 5 region the continent of Mo Luo belonged to. After studying the star map, Wang Lin found that aside from the continents that people lived on, there was another type of continent called the wild continents. These were similar to the abandoned planets in the Alliance or All Heaven. However, in the Cloud Sea, these wild continents didn't have black towers, so they were shrouded by the star fog. They became lairs for fierce beasts and often housed numerous fierce beasts. Some very precious herbs often grew on continents like these. Following the star map in his mind, Wang Lin charged into the star fog. The star fog was like clouds. Aside from covering vision, it also prevented divine sense from spreading too far. Wang Lin wasn't familiar with the Cloud Sea star system, so he couldn't help but slow down. On the wild continent near the continent of Mo Luo, the beasts had gradually become more scarce throughout the years. It had become a place for the Origin sect disciples to train. Only some low-level beast remained, and even most of the herbs had been cleared out. This would naturally not be Wang Lin's choice. He was going to go for a wild continent even further out, one where fierce beasts lived and not many cultivators had explored, so there would be still large amounts of herbs there. Wang Lin moved faster and faster. There would often be a flash of light as he broke through the fog and went into the distance. Although his divine sense could only probe within 10,000 feet, a Nirvana Scryer cultivator could only reach 1,000 feet. Only Nirvana Cleanser cultivators could reach 10,000 feet. Along the way, various strange beasts appeared within Wang Lin's divine sense. These beasts were all eerie. One was a long, scaled fish. When it opened its mouth, countless sharp teeth could be seen, and it gave off a fishy smell. There were a few that looked like dragons, but their bodies were only few hundred feet long. These red beasts moved like lightning and lived in herds. Hundreds of thousands of them moved through the Cloud Sea. Also, there were beasts like the nether beast Wang Lin had seen, but much smaller, only few thousand feet wide. These beasts were slow, but even those red beasts avoided them. There were also tadpole-like black beasts like the one Rudy had. They hid within the fog, giving off a hidden pressure. However, when those beasts felt Wang Lin's divine sense, they all quickly retreated. While moving through the fog, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand reached at the void. A storage space crack opened and buzzing sounds came out as the mosquito beasts flew out. These dozens of mosquito beasts flew around and emitted thunderous cries filled with joy. In particular, Wang Lin's purple mosquito beast was flying left and right in joy. Wang Lin's body flickered and he sat down on the mosquito beast. Without waiting for Wang Lin's order, it rushed forward and flew inside the star fog with its companions. Time seemed to go on for eternity inside this star fog. It was hard to notice because there was no night or day, only the dense star fog that surround everything. After silently calculating for a bit, Wang Lin calculated it had been 3 days. With his speed, he was already far away from the continent of Mo Luo and was closing in on a dangerous wild continent marked on the map. It didn't take long for a giant shadow to appear in Wang Lin's divine sense. This shadow was large enough to cover the sky, and he could vaguely hear roars coming from it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the mosquito beast below him became cautious. As they closed in, the shadow cleared up. This was a huge wild continent. Wang Lin jumped off the mosquito beast, pierced through the fog, and landed on the wild continent. This place was filled with star fog. If not for his divine sense and his feet standing on the continent, it would have been very difficult to distinguish this place from just space. The surroundings were completely silent with fierce roars coming from the distance. These roars seemed to indicate that this place wasn't as peaceful as it seemed. The ground consisted of black sand. Wang Lin slowly walked forward on the sand and eventually arrived before a ruin. This was obviously once a mortal city, but there was no sign of life. The buildings had collapsed and there were dry brown red blood marks. Just at this moment, a black shadow charged out from a ruined house. It let out a roar along with its fishy breath and charged at Wang Lin. The shadow was only few dozen feet long, but it moved like lightning as it charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained calm. He didn't even need to act, as the mosquito beast charged out and went straight toward the shadow. With a bang, the shadow's body trembled and the mosquito's mouth pierced through its head. Then the mosquito sucked and the entire black shadow shrank. The mosquito beast flew back with disdain in its eyes. Wang Lin patted the mosquito beast's head and pointed ahead. The mosquito beast king immediately flew out, leading more than 10 of its kind into the ruins. The moment they flew forward, many shadows charged out from the ruins. There were at least a dozen of them. They all let out roars and charged at the mosquito beasts. With Wang Lin's insight and divine sense, he immediately saw that they were black apes. They were exactly the same as the ones inside the pill Shu Yun had devoured. "Leave the souls behind," Wang Lin's voice calmly echoed in the ruin. The mosquito beasts and ape beasts weren't even on the same level, so the battle soon ended. The apes died one by one, leaving behind a powerful smell of blood. More than 10 mosquito beasts flew back to Wang Lin. They let out cries and also spat out beast souls, which were put away by Wang Lin. Due to the smell of blood, the roar of beasts from afar became even louder and the ground began to vibrate. Even gusts of wind appeared to push the fog before it. Wang Lin's expression was still calm as he walked into the ruin. He scanned it with his divine sense and left after finding no herbs. His figure moved through the fog as if he had merged with the mist and gave off a powerful killing intent. He seemed to give off a fiercer aura than any of the fierce beasts, and the 10 mosquito beasts cried as they circled above him. Before this fierce aura, even the roars from the distance gradually weakened until they eventually disappeared. The ground stopped trembling and the wind disappeared. This continent was named Kai Ape on the star map. It had many mountains, and they appeared and disappeared within the fog. The roars of fierce beasts came from the mountains. The ruins of cities that were hidden everywhere in the fog silently showed how prosperous this continent used to be. However, now it was just a ruin, and the sounds of the past had disappeared. What remained was just the vestige of time. Among the fierce beasts, there were those that liked to be in groups and those that liked to be aloof. At this moment, in one of the mountains, the roar of a specific beast was the most violent. The roar was so intense that not even the fog could hide it. This mountain was completely black and towered into the air like a sword that pierced into the sky. Large apes nearly 100 feet tall were moving through the mountain, desperately rushing to the peak. There was a giant black ape fierce beast sitting in the lotus position like a human. It was no less than 1,000 feet tall. Its arms were as thick as old pine trees, needing several people to completely surround. There was giant purple tree that only reached its calf where it was sitting. The trunk of the tree was mostly withered, as if it had lived for far too long. However, it wasn't dead, it still had many branches with lots of leaves growing on them. What was strange was that the leaves of the tree were snow white and the veins on the leaves were very easy to see, as if they were made of crystal. There were also 2 fist-sized fruits that were a mix of black and white. It was a strange sight. This giant ape opened its eyes, and its eyes lit up brightly like 2 bright flames. Its eyes emitted such a fierce gaze that it penetrated through the fog. The gaze landed on a white-haired figure that was surrounded by a large amount of fierce beasts in between the mountain peak. When it looked at Wang Lin waved his right hand and a black wind appeared, taking the lives of more than a dozen black apes. Wang Lin raised his head and met the cold gaze. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar came from the top of the mountain. The fierceness of the beasts around Wang Lin increased and a wave of fishy smell blasted at Wang Lin. They wanted to tear his body apart and even devour his soul. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the large amount of fierce beasts before him. He rushed forward and turned into a ray of light as he charged toward the mountain top. In the sky, more than 10 mosquito beasts roared, and around them were some eagle-like beasts. These beasts gave off a ferocious aura and began a life-and-death battle with the mosquito beasts. Wang Lin moved forward. All of the beasts that blocked him exploded into a rain of blood with a wave of his hand. His hand reached out to open his storage space and flying swords flew out. These flying swords circled around Wang Lin in a sword formation. He didn't pause at all as he slaughtered his way up the mountain. From afar, a white line moved at an unimaginable speed, causing a rain of blood as it closed in on the mountain peak. The giant ape that was sitting there revealed a ferocious gaze and stood up. When it stood up, the entire mountain trembled, and it charged down the mountain at Wang Lin. It wasn't any slower than Wang Lin, and in an instant, they were about to collide. The black ape revealed a ferocious gaze and smashed down with its right arm. However, Wang Lin's body immediately disappeared without a trace and the black ape missed. Then it saw Wang Lin reappear next to the giant tree on the mountain peak. The giant ape's pupils obviously shrank and it let out a roar. It swung its right hand, sending a gust of wind that seemed to become one with the world toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's right hand fell on the giant tree and gently patted it. The giant tree disappeared with its roots as Wang Lin put it inside his storage space. At this moment the gust of wind arrived. Wang Lin's left hand formed a seal and pointed forward. Strands of slaughter energy appeared and formed a slaughter storm around him. The slaughter energy wailed as it charged at the gust of wind. A thunderous rumble echoed and the gust of wind instantly collapsed. The slaughter energy didn't pause at all before slamming into the giant ape. The giant ape let out a heaven-shaking roar when the slaughter energy collided with its body and caused a bloody mess. Its body was mercilessly thrown into the air. Wang Lin raised his head and his eyes lit up. His body moved like a meteor and closed in on the giant ape. He pointed at the giant ape's body multiple times. Every time his finger landed, the giant ape would let out a miserable roar and tremble. Every time Wang Lin's finger landed, a new hole would open up on the giant ape's body and a large amount of blood would spray out, dyeing the surroundings red. Rays of origin energy entered the black ape through Wang Lin's finger and formed a seal. Wang Lin withdrew his finger and said coldly, "Are you willing to become my spirit beast?" He had already been on this wild continent for 7 days. He had killed many fierce beasts and gathered a large amount of herbs. Some of these beasts could use spells and fight against cultivators. There were even several rank 5 fierce beasts that could match Nirvana Scryer cultivators, but they had all been killed by Wang Lin and had their souls taken. The giant black ape was also a rank 5 beast, but it had very tough body. Even after being hit by Wang Lin, it was only seriously injured and not dead. Even among the rank 5 beasts, it was at the peak and could enter rank 6 at any time. This was why Wang Lin suddenly wanted to tame it. What answered Wang Lin was an even more violent roar and a punch from the ape's left arm. The ape's fist set off a gust of wind and even contained a faint aura of an ancient god's punch. This really showed how powerful the black ape was. Wang Lin frowned. He wasn't fused with his original body, so his body wasn't as strong as the black ape's. He let out a cold snort and was going to dodge, but at this moment, for some unknown reason, the scene of that old man using a palm to block the arm of an ancient god appeared in his mind. Wang Lin silently pondered as he faced the gust of wind. He was completely calm. All the origin energy in his body moved toward his palm and gathered there, causing a thunderous rumble. He simply closed his eyes and the scene of the old man stopping Tuo Sen's hand replayed repeatedly. Wang Ling gradually felt a sense of enlightenment. It was just like how he had gained enlightenment from the handprint in the Rain Celestial Realm. On this wild continent, inside this fog, he was facing a situation similar to what the old man did against Tuo Sen. Wang Lin had seen the third step before and had also been able to experience the third step with Qing Lin's help. All of these allowed Wang Lin to gain a startling enlightenment regarding the spell the old man had used that obviously belonged to the third step. The gust of wind blew Wang Lin's clothes backward and the giant ape's arm closed in. The moment it was about to smash into Wang Lin opened his eyes and gently placed his palm on the giant ape's arm, which was already before his face. A powerful force came out from the arm and collided with the origin energy in Wang Lin's palm. There was a thunderous rumble, and his clothes flapped violently in the wind and his white hair was blown backwards. However, his body didn't move at all. The giant ape's body also trembled. It felt like its arm hit fog and didn't have any feeling of contact at all. Instead, its body trembled and it felt a sudden, inexplicable pain. Wang Lin's eyes became brighter and brighter as the old man's action replayed endlessly in his mind until it was almost second nature. He subconsciously lifted his left hand and quickly pointed at the back of his right palm. Every time his fingertip fell, origin energy would gather from the world and condense into his palm. After pointing 3 times, Wang Lin's face turned slightly red, but his eyes lit up and he let out a roar. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The giant ape immediately retreated and a large amount of blood gushed out from his arm. A clear palm print was left on the arm along with 3 cracks from the finger. The cracks began to rapidly spread along the giant ape's arm. The cracks continued to spread, the rumbling sound continued, and blood sprayed everywhere. Wang Lin's eyes were bright. He didn't look at the giant ape, but looked at his right hand with a hint of enlightenment. He didn't know what the name of the spell was, but he vaguely felt like he had gasped something. Just now, he wasn't using his own origin energy to mobilize the origin energy of the world, he was controlling it instead. Controlling the origin energy of the world by force required origin energy form all directions to form a tyrannical attack. A mournful cry interrupted Wang Lin's thoughts, and the giant ape's eyes filled with fear. It looked at the 3 cracks spreading across his body. The ape felt like it would be torn to pieces if it moved a bit too hard. At the moment of danger, the giant ape began to glow white. Under this white light, an illusory soul appeared above its head. This illusory soul was blurry, but it looked like the ape with a more human shape. It looked like it wanted to charge out from the ape's body and leave. Upon seeing this, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Soul condensed into spirit. According to the Jade, this was a spell only rank 6 beasts could use. It was unexpected that this giant ape would have a breakthrough at this moment of life and death. Wang Lin took a step forward and instantly arrived before the giant ape. Then his right hand slammed down and the soul of the giant ape was pushed back into its body. Wang Lin stared at the giant ape's eyes and calmly said, "Become my spirit beast." The giant ape's body trembled and its eyes filled with fear. It had already awakened its intelligence and naturally understood Wang Lin's words. It nodded. Wang Lin's right hand hit the giant ape and the 3 cracks on its body immediately disappeared. At the same time, his right hand formed a beast-controlling seal and placed it on the giant ape. The seal landed between the giant ape's eyebrows and disappeared. At this moment, the mosquito beasts had killed all the eagle-shaped beasts in the sky and were hovering next to the giant ape. Wang Lin sat down on the shoulder of the giant ape and looked ahead. The giant ape let out a roar as it charged off into the distance like a meteor. This video will end here.